one summer, somebody called me and said, "Hey, would you want to work on the hot truck crew?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I guess so. That
sounds like a fun name. Sure. I want to be a hot shot.
I can get one of those orange hard hats whenever you work for the Forest Service, everybody is trained in firefighting. Yeah, after a few years, I was picked up on the hot truck crew, and there was 5 women and 15 men.
Welcome to Zestful Aging, the podcast where we celebrate aging with vibrance and we defy the stereotypes of what it means to age. I'm your host, Nicole Christina, a psychotherapist of more than 30 years, here to introduce you to my off-the-mainstream guests who will energize and inspire you. My hope is to create optimism about getting older and help you cultivate zest and joy in this season of your life. And I love to hear feedback from you, my listeners. Please drop me a line at zestfulaging@gmail.com. I read every single comment. And to find out more about this podcast, hop on over to zestfulaging.com. Today's episode is on location. And it's about resilience and courage, what it is, why it's important, and how we can create more courage in our own lives. I don't know about you, but in this phase of life, I don't want to miss any opportunities because I'm afraid. Sue Parker is the co-founder of the Creative Hub, which brings women together monthly to craft, share, and just be in community. And it is the most fun Sunday of my month. But what I've discovered is that Sue has been actually a true adventurer, although she's pretty modest about it. She's had an adventurous spirit from the very beginning. She was one of the first women hotshot firefighters in Oregon, and she spent her career working to make healthy food accessible to everyone before online food ordering was a thing. She was involved in creating the first online farmers markets through Cornell Cooperative Extension, and eventually she settled down and raised her 3 children in a quiet upstate New York town. But she had wanderlust and asked herself, is this all there is? After the death of her 17-year-old daughter, she was waiting for an opportunity to make a big change, and a big change she made. We're going to hear all about it. Welcome to the show, Sue.
Why, thank you, Nicole. I'm excited to be here.
It's so lovely. You know, normally I'm in my office or my podcast booth with my, all alone, but this is very civilized. We're having tea. We're right under the bird feeder. We're in your lovely home. So it feels very cozy today. I wanted to talk to you about this whole question of courage. And I'm just curious, as a child, were you someone who was considered courageous?
Wow. No, I wouldn't use that word. Courageous doesn't...
Were you a risk taker?
I was in some ways. I think I always had wanderlust. When I was 15, I took a bicycle trip, and I remember my parents going, "What are you going to do? Where are you going to go?" I just found some friends, and we rode our bikes to Cape Cod, and I remember my dad was very, very supportive of that kind of thing. My mom was a little bit anxious about it. But yeah, I think I've always had that little, what's around the next corner?
Independence streak.
Yeah.
Are you the youngest?
No. Yes.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
You're the youngest,
yes.
And sometimes that kind of goes with the territory, right? There's a little bit more freedom,
right.
A little bit bucking the system. I won't go down the therapy trail, but yeah, that can happen. So after you were raising your kids, but before that, let's talk about the firefighting, because I was actually telling my son the story you told me about being in the bus and the guys really getting pumped up like they were going to a football game to fight these fires. Obviously, this is a really dangerous job. Talk a little bit about what it was like to be one of the first women hotshot firefighters in the Northwest.
Well, I didn't really know that we were the first women to get hired until actually kind of recently, because now they're doing a 50-year anniversary for the hotshot firefighters actually this weekend in Oregon. And I've read some of the articles, and we were, I think it was like 3 years out before they actually hired any women for those crews. So yeah, I kind of stumbled into it. I had worked for the Forest Service for a number of years on different crews, doing brush disposal, where we had to dig line around, did prescribed burns, and so you learn how to, dig line basically. And there was 20-person crews, and then one summer, somebody called me and said, "Hey, would you want to work on the hotshot crew?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I guess so. That
sounds like a fun name. Sure, I want to be a hotshot.
I can get one of those orange hard hats whenever you work for the Forest Service, everybody is trained in firefighting. So the people that are in the office, being receptionists or whatever, they also have to go to training. So the first few years that I was working in brush disposal and or recreation or tree planting, I was, I had to go to firefighting school for a week, and they teach you about fire shelters and how to use tools and what, cloud formation and the science behind fire. And then, after a few years, I was picked up on the hotshot crew, and there was 5 women and 15 men. Mm-hmm. And, you had a certain tool, and, we were flown to different fires that, wildfires, fires that were either lightning strikes or people couldn't get to. You couldn't go there with a tanker and put it out. You had to hike in there, get helicoptered in there. Or
did you have any awareness that this isn't sort of the typical thing people do right after college? This is not the typical sort of whatever gap year, or did you have an awareness that you're doing something a little bit different?
I probably did. When I would call home to my parents in upstate New York, they'd be like, "Susie, what are you doing? You need to come home, get in your little truck and come home." Or, but I was caught all swept up in it. It was really exciting, and there was a lot of interesting dynamics, and it was
among the firefighters.
Oh,
what was it like with the other women?
Oh, good. We're all very supportive of each other. Uh-huh. Yeah, looking out for each other. Yeah.
Yeah. And how was it with the men? Did it feel respectful?
Yeah, for the most part it did. There was a few people that, you could tell that they were not particularly excited about having women on the crew. But for the most part, they were amazing, really? Very, very supportive and checking in on you and, making sure that, you we're keeping up, because that was always my biggest fear about keeping up with the crew, because you're hiking in with 20 people, and the crew starts to spread out. We start all bunched up, and then as you're going up and down hills, you start to spread out, and you're like an inchworm. And I remember seeing, because we would hike a lot of times at night, and so we all had our little headlights on, and you could see the crew was like way up there on the next hill. I'm like, oh my gosh, because sometimes I would be back towards the end of it, and I'd be like, oh my god,
you're on the tail of the catapult.
But then we'd all get caught up, and then we'd start work. Then we'd start digging line.
And what does it mean, digging line?
So it depends on the fire and what environment you're in, but it's mostly like a hiking trail, maybe 12 inches wide down to mineral soil, and all the roots are taken out so that fire can travel underwater or underground.
So you're trying to make a perimeter?
Yes.
So it runs out of stuff to burn?
Fuel, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then you're also clearing any debris back, depending on what it is, 20 feet and the canopy. So the first 3 or 4 guys go through with chainsaws, and then the next hand crew goes in throwing brush and stuff, and then you get the hand, with a plasky and a axe and different things, and we clear the trail as fast as we can.
It sounds extremely demanding, both physically, but also emotionally. You're at night, separated from your crew, and there's a wildfire?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you ever have any,
sometimes you're right up against the fire, and sometimes you're quite a ways from it.
Okay.
And then you back burn into the fire, so the fire has nothing left to burn.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there was one time that we were in a canyon, and there was a fire had more or less burned through this one side of the canyon. So, let's say the west side of the canyon had really burned pretty well. But the winds were starting to pick up, so they were taking what was still burning and burning or blowing them across to the other side that hadn't burned. So this gal that I worked with and I were sent over to the other side to just jump on those and put those out, dig down to mineral soil and to make sure those embers are completely out, and touch them with your hand, take your glove off and feel around and make sure it's really out. And so we were just, cruising around, going from little spot to spot, and our crew bus was up on a cliff. And so, you put a lot of trust in your crew people watching out to see what was happening. And apparently these winds that hit at 2:00 in this one canyon came up, so because the heat from both sides of the canyon started to build up, and there was clouds over the top of the canyon. Oh. So they kept this pressure on.
Oh, boy.
So the fire, the heat was building up underneath, and then all of a sudden the fire burned through it was like a chimney. And so both sides burst into fire. I mean, it was so scary. I remember Lynn and I were we have a buddy system. Somebody always knows where you are.
Okay.
And I went after Lynn, where is she? I just saw a wall of flames. And I was like, oh my gosh, should I go into that fire or what? And then I heard just like a second later that she had ran down the hill and into the creek bed, which was at the bottom. Oh. So then I was like, oh my God, I just felt like crying. And I was like, it was so just all the emotions. And it was like, you can't stop and think about what just happened. You have to start digging line again.
They don't have let's talk about the trauma
afterwards. Yeah, we processed a lot afterwards. But at that moment, I remember feeling like my eyes were filling up with tears. Like, oh my gosh, what could have just happened? And then, no, we gotta go start digging line again. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So when did you know it was time to move on from that?
I think that this is a long time ago, but where I was living was pretty remote. You were either kind of work for the Forest Service, a bartender, a logger or something, and I didn't have a degree in forestry, and I just thought, I should probably go and have a real life and think about my career, and so I decided to move back east again.
Was that a big transition for you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was. It's a different culture out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Hi, Zesties. Well, we all know that exercise is really important, especially as we age. Some say it's the most important thing you can do to stay healthy. But many of us find that it's really easy to start an exercise routine, but it's hard to keep it up. That's why we see so many exercise bikes and machines being used as clothes hangers come March. Am I the only one who has bought a gym membership that turned out to be a total waste of money? At this point in life, I want to do things that are good for me, but also fun. You'll never find me at a class called boot camp because life is hard enough. And that is why I love my rebounder. What is a rebounder? Well, it's a mini trampoline that has so many health benefits, it's kind of crazy. It turns out that gently jumping up and down provides excellent benefits to our whole body. It helps clear lymphatic drainage, which is basically toxic waste in our bodies. And get this, NASA uses it to help their astronauts reacclimate when they've been up in space. And I'm not even going to go into the improvements in complexion and mood. Let's just say it's hard to be in a bad mood when you're jumping to your favorite music. It's like your own dance party. But if you're interested in a rebounder, please take my advice. Don't buy a cheap one. They can actually be dangerous. I would recommend the one I have, which is a NEEDAK rebounder. It's NEEDAK, and mine's going on about 20 years old. I use it with light weights, and I've actually used it to train for the senior tennis games, as well as my Camino walk in Spain. And it's also great to use in upstate New York in the winter when the weather is awful, which is pretty often. So right now you can get a free rebounder cover at NEEDAK if you use the coupon code ZESTFUL. So again, NEEDAK, NEEDAK. And if you have any questions, check out my YouTube demo. It's my most watched YouTube to date. So happy jumping, and I would love to hear how you like it.
So you come back and you started working for the Cooperative Extension?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And it sounds like that was, I was going to use a pun, very fruitful. But it sounds like it was going well. And then were you aware, was there sort of this little voice saying like, I need an adventure, or what was the experience like sort of living more of a mainstream, quote unquote, normal life?
Right. Boy, that's a tough question. Well, I had started having, I got married and started having children, and I think I embraced that, and we had a really great life. We'd gotten sheep and chickens and turkeys, and I'm a weaver, and so I really kind of dove into raising kids in the country and really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah. And so that was part of, learning about it, doing like, what can we make? What can, it sounds like that sort of passionate and embracing of life. Mm-hmm. You were getting that through some of the sort of, what do you call that? Like was it farming or?
I think more of a hobby farm.
A hobby farm.
Yeah. And, we had a lot of fun doing that kind of thing.
But had you learned about raising sheep in Fayetteville?
No, not at all.
They don't have, I don't think they have a lot of farms in Fayetteville.
I'm not sure how I came across the sheep, to tell you the truth. But out in Oregon, I had learned how to weave. So I had a huge loom.
Oh, okay.
And so I think I was thinking, sheep to shawl, shearing the sheep, learning how to spin it, doing that whole piece. So
you got the bug out there.
Right,
I can see that. Yeah, that sounds fun. So you were sort of doing your thing. You were raising your kids. You were living in a really lovely upstate New York town, taking care of stuff. And then your daughter, can you talk a little bit about Julia? Was she ill or?
Oh, no. So I have 3 children. Emily was in school at college, and Neil, my youngest, was probably 15, 14, 15. And Julie was 17. She's the middle. And she was about ready to graduate from high school. And she had gone to a friend's house to spend the night. And that was out in DeRuyter. So, she called to say she was spending the night, and I was like, okay, see you in the morning. She had to babysit at the church Sunday morning, and there was a fire in the house. In the cabin, and she was the only one that didn't get out.
Oh, gosh. Oh.
So, yeah. That was a big one.
Oh, my gosh. Really perverse irony, right?
Yeah.
With your firefighting. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I find that a curious thing about, what is fire, like transformation. When I was fighting fire, I would see a fire, we'd go back to certain areas, a year later, 6 months, 3 months, and see like amazing new growth. Like immediately it was like, whoa, this was literally ashes. Like
regeneration.
that. Yeah, like just moments ago. So I've been thinking and pondering for a long time, what is fire? And it's shifted over time, for a long time it was fearful. And now it's, what is fire? What does it offer? How does it transform people?
And you're a spiritual woman. I mean, I don't know if that you would use that term. Is that a fair?
So, yeah.
And you've recently gone to Ireland and done some really lovely exercises and meditations. Was fire part of that for you? I mean, did that come into the practice, or is that part of it? Or the imagery?
The imagery more so than the actual process, yeah.
So, talk about a major transformation. And you, at that point, you were a single mom.
Yes.
Yeah. So, resilience is something I'm so interested in and talk about and wonder about and read about. How did you get through that? What was the way you were resilient?
Well, for one thing, I don't think I'm through it. I don't think that, I don't think there's an end point. And that's part of the beauty of anything that you go through, that it shifts you, it changes you. And I've learned a lot, and I have a different understanding about loss and grief. But as far as resilience and how did I get through it, that's a good question. I can tell you different things that have worked for me. One is counseling. I had an incredible grief counselor. Unfortunately, my father had passed away like 3 weeks before Julie died. So with my father's passing, it was this almost beautiful, lovely, I was there, I held him, I talked to him, I, was there actually when he passed. And, we had the funeral and everything was like just as beautiful as it could be, and
natural process.
Right. You expect your parents to pass away at some point. And then 3 weeks later, Julie died without being able to say goodbye or anything. So I mean, talk about contrast, the two extremes. You don't expect your children to pass away, and not being able to say goodbye, and then also holding 2 other children and helping them, or doing the best you can.
You had to still be a mom.
Right. And I knew, and so when my father passed, we had hospice, and hospice gave us 18 months of counseling. And so I'd been in counseling with this incredible man who was just new. He was a grief counselor, and he knew how to ask the questions and when to push and when to stop. And so I stayed on with him after Julia died for quite a few years. And that was huge, having him.
Someone who really knew.
Yes. Yeah. So, that was good. And then, knowing, I just had this sense right from the beginning that I'm not going to take this experience and not learn from it or grow from it or help other people, that have gone through something similar, and whether it's a child or a spouse or a loved one or, a dog. I think it just made me realize that so many people are carrying around grief and loss. And if you don't process it, it comes out in really nasty ways, health issues or, addiction or all sorts of things. And so I feel so strongly that being able to talk about grief and loss is so needed in our culture. We're all grieving something, even if it's a loss of a job or, a friendship.
It is a series of losses, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
And riding that line of appreciating the beauty and not sugarcoating the losses.
Right. Right. And being able to talk about it. Yeah.
So as you've aged, your kids are, they have their own kids. How has that experience affected you as you age and perhaps as you're grieving different things now?
I think it's shifted into life is short. I know, and that we only get a certain amount of time on this planet, and we never know when our time is up, and how important it is to love the people that are around us, love our communities. Nature was another big healing vehicle for me. I've always been somebody who's spent time in nature, but obviously working for the Forest Service and being outside, I've always been drawn to that. But spending as much time in nature after Julia died was profound. It just held me. I felt safe. I felt cared for. I felt loved. I'd get these downloads, from Julia. I remember right after she passed away, it wasn't, a couple of weeks or whatever. I don't remember. But walking down the street, I lived in a rural area, and walking through the woods and feeling like she said to me so loudly and so clearly, "Mom, I'm everywhere now. Look around. Look at the raindrops. Look at the trees. Look at the branches. Look at the grass. I am everywhere." It was just like, and if you don't stop and connect to that, I can't be with you. I'm not here. I can't reach you.
You have been such an advocate for nature. You also have a certificate in forest bathing. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. I discovered that not that long ago, but I love doing that, and I love turning people onto it. And it's fascinating to me to be with people that are like, well, I don't really get this, Sue, and I don't.
What's this bathing stuff? Yeah, where does the bathing part come in?
Do I have to take off all my clothes in the woods? And oh boy, Sue, what's she doing now? But no, it's really I describe it as like a meditation in nature. But having a guide or have somebody to take you out where they're actually telling you for the next 10 minutes, just listen to sound and don't judge it. So if I did that by myself, people say, oh, well, I do that all the time. But if I go out and I say to myself, by myself, I'm going to listen to sound for 10 minutes, I would immediately say, well, I need to get that shopping list done. And I did that, and I'd go down that rabbit hole and not realize that I hadn't listened to just the sound. So, listening to something and not judging it, like, oh, there's a loud motorcycle that just went by, and not saying, oh, that motorcycle shouldn't be so loud, or I wish it wasn't here, or whatever. But just, there it is.
That's this acceptance.
Yeah. There's that sound. It's just coming, and then it's going. I don't have to make it mine. I don't have to own it. I don't have to do anything about it.
There's a certain detachment, right?
Yeah.
There's a certain looking at it from a couple steps away.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to back up because this is one of the first things that I learned about you that I thought, oh, we are going to schedule an interview right away. And that is, you talked to me about after your daughter's death, you were kind of doing your life and you were hearing the call of something, you wanted something different. You were asking yourself, is this all that I can look forward to? It's fine, but it's not quite what I had in mind. You decided to make a huge change. And it's the kind that sometimes you hear about, but it just even pondering it seems overwhelming and frightening to me. So could you talk a little bit about how that decision came about?
Sure. So let's see. I was a director of a small nonprofit, and I think it was the year, well, not even, it was the year before, I went out to Arizona to visit an old friend who was a friend from Oregon that I hadn't seen in years and years and years, and he was profoundly deaf, and I knew very little sign language, so we met up in Arizona, and he was one of those guys that he knew every plant, every bird, he knew everything about nature. And so I spent, 5 days out there just seeing Arizona and feeling as though I spent a lot of time going, isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful?
All the nature awe.
Yeah. And it was like I hadn't taken that deep breath like that. Like, and I came back to my town and was sitting, I just remember this so specifically. I was sitting at a board meeting, and we were talking about the next fundraiser to do. And people were talking about what to put on the flyer or where we're going to put the flyer up. And I was looking out the window. No, I was looking at my screensaver and seeing the pictures of Arizona.
Oh.
And then kind of looking out, and I thought, I am not doing this group any favors by sitting here and not being engaged and not being, I want to be
present.
And I want to contribute. I want to be like jazzed about what's going on, and I wasn't. And I remember sitting with that for a while and just saying, what? I don't want to be like this. I want that feeling of, and how can I find it? And so I tried to, find it in nature near my house. And I did this process called sit spotting, where I would sit out in my little postage stamp backyard, and I would just sit there for, I'd try to do 5 minutes every day. And I think I did it for almost a year, where I sat outside in the same spot, and I would just sit there and be quiet. And I would just wait to see what happened. Sometimes I would journal. I try not to even journal because I wanted to be totally present. I would just watch that raindrop come right off of that maidenhair fern or whatever. And I just focused. And it was just, I tried to do 5 minutes, and then sometimes it would be a half an hour. And I would be like, I don't want to go inside.
And it's better to do, is it typically an outside thing?
Yeah, but you could do it inside, next to a plant by your window, or you're outside your window. People would say that, they live in an apartment, or, it could be a plant. It could be anything.
Okay.
And so I did that for a year. I think that was kind of this preparation that was going on under my thinking. And so after I sat at that board meeting for a little bit and feeling like I wasn't contributing and I wasn't, doing what I felt like I should be, I decided, well, I wonder if maybe I could just rent my house and, see what happens. And so I put it on Craigslist and pushed that button, at, I don't know, 11 o'clock at night or something. Mm-hmm. And some people responded and I thought, well.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
No, I was just kidding.
Right. Well, they can just come over and maybe I don't have to say yes.
Right.
It was kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
So they came over and again, they were like this lovely couple. And I was like, oh my gosh, they would be so good for my town because they just seemed really community oriented and they would be nice for my neighbors. I didn't want to just rent my house to somebody that, was loud or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so then I was like, yeah, I think I'll rent my house to them. And then I was, you go back in your house and like, what did I do? Oh my gosh, now I have to go someplace for a whole year. But I get to go someplace for a whole year.
Now, did you have people supporting this, or was it no, or was it totally a little secret?
It was totally a secret.
Really?
Yeah. It was totally a secret because for me, I feel sometimes if I share that idea that I have, they may say to me, why would you want to do that? Or how are you going to do that? Or did you think about that? And did you? And then I'm like, questioning myself. And I didn't want to question myself. I wanted that feeling of, and that was, so that renting my house was that feeling of,
is part of the feeling that this excitement, is there freedom?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because when I'm looking at you and you're doing it and it looks like freedom, say more.
Well, I think it comes from the inside out.
Okay.
It's not that, I was thinking about this morning, that it wasn't like I knew exactly what I wanted to change from the outside. Like, I could probably get a new job. Mm-hmm. I could probably, go away for the weekend and get, an
hot air balloon,
but it was an
something.
Inside thing that almost came from change. So I think that totally began to change from my outside. So I think it started from the inside. Mm-hmm. Listening to my heart. I remember I did that. What's that woman? Tidying up.
Maria Kondo.
Yes. I remember doing my, she has you start with the your underwear drawer or something you're not too invested in. You don't want to do your, grandma's china or something, and getting rid of stuff. I think I did all these little things, and it just so my big adventure came because of all these little micro steps that I was taking that I didn't know that were important. They were stepping stones.
And when you were doing the sparking joy thing, holding up your underwear and saying, does this spark joy? So you didn't have an awareness like, I need to sort of declutter my life and move to the next phase. There wasn't like an end point. It was just like, this sounds like a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't like there was no outline.
Yeah.
That I'm taking this step.
Yeah.
Which, for me, I've been told my whole life that that's what you need to do. You need to go to college to get this job, and you need to do this, and you need to do it in this order. And that makes me cross-eyed.
It just doesn't work for you. Do you think you would have been able to, where I'm kind of spoiling the story because then you sell your stuff and, we'll get to that. But how much do you think Julia's death and grieving that and the clarity of life is short had an impact on this?
Absolutely.
Yes, you think so.
It was kind of, I think I said, nothing matters. Everything matters. that feeling of, the worst just happened to me.
Yes.
And so nothing matters.
Right.
But everything matters. And I also knew that my other two children were really happy. They had good people in their lives. And so that gave me the freedom. If they were still, they certainly had their things going on, but they were in a good place, And I also knew that if I wasn't in a good, they were still looking at me thinking, how's mom doing, And so I think the better I became, the more freedom it gave them to become the best that they could be. So if I had stayed in a little crumpled ball on the kitchen floor forever, they couldn't live their lives up fully. So I think the more I healed, it allowed them to heal too, and vice versa.
So is there a part of this that's I am allowed to do something fun? Was there any conflict there? Like, I'm no longer a crumpled ball. Is that okay?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not like we said in the beginning, it's not like you're through it. I still have those thoughts, like, do I deserve to be happy?
In some way, disrespecting her memory
or guilt.
Yeah.
I don't, it doesn't rear its head very often, but occasionally it does. I could have done, something. I just feel like in so many ways, I feel lucky because I feel like she's still here and I still get, amazing thoughts from her, when I can tune into her.
Has your idea about what happens after we die changed?
Yes. Yeah. I think I'm not really sure what I thought before when I was younger, but I definitely feel that they're still with us. I can sometimes write, I'll often write to her and I'll write a note, hey, Julia, what am I supposed to know about this? And, the message I keep getting back is the more that you are in love and happy and joyous and creative and having fun, the more I'm right there, Mom. Because when you're not happy, then I'm in hell. I can't be happy unless you're happy, So what's my choice? Like, go for it. Enjoy life. There's so much beauty and love here. And there's so many good things going on. So take it if you can. Find it. And it is everywhere.
You're somebody who loves to connect women and with women. Yeah.
I do.
Hey, Zesties. Well, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one feeling tense and anxious these days. Every day, it seems like there's more scary news. Well, I've been a psychotherapist for over 34 years, and I've learned a lot of techniques to help manage anxiety, and I've been using them. But recently, I found something new that I wanted to tell you about. I actually just stumbled upon it at an event for veterans. It's a little breathing device called Calm Ego. And when you're breathing in a way that promotes relaxation, which is basically long exhales, it lights up. And you can add a calming scent if you like. So Calm Ego is a natural, portable, drug-free solution that can be used in moments of upset, anxiety, and stress. And it's effective and pretty unique. And you can use it for both immediate relief and also long-term effectiveness. So I love that you don't have to think about the breathing, you don't have to count, you don't have to imagine a square. You really don't have to do anything. It does all the work for you. I find it to be especially helpful before bedtime, and I'm pretty excited about it. So I'm partnering with Comigo to offer you a 25% discount if you use the coupon code ZESTFUL at when you're cashing out on the site, which is Calmigo, CALMIGO.com. And please let me know about your experience. I will be interested to hear. Thanks. I was thinking of the Creative Hub, but then I skipped over the part about, so you rented your house and you bought yourself a trailer.
Yes. So I took some money that I had and bought a little truck and a little teardrop trailer. So after I rented my house, I was like, oh boy, now I need something to do. So I had been, spending lots of nighttime watching YouTube videos and seeing these other people out on the road and doing these fun things and, just getting very, very inspired and thinking, well, maybe I could do that. So I bought a little truck and a trailer, and I remember I had to have my son come with me to get the trailer because I'd never driven anything like that before. I knew nothing about backing it in and, asking a neighbor, can you back my trailer into my driveway?
Oh, wow.
I really don't know what I was.
So you pull this behind a truck?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then I had it parked in my driveway and having friends come over and sitting in my trailer and having these, because it was like this little nest, and having friends come over and we'd, cook, have dinner or whatever, and we'd have these like intense conversations, and it was so lovely. And then we opened the door and we're like in, suburbia and in Sue's driveway. And it was just so much fun. And then I took it to some little parks not far from me to just try it out. And it was so fun and lovely, and being in a nest and, being cozy and making my coffee and, it was just fun.
And it was like you create, it's a creative process, right?
Right.
I'm sure you did things to make it your own, and your own signature.
Yes.
It wasn't like the industrial, whatever way the manufacturer had it.
Yeah.
I bet it was quite beautiful.
Because some of them are so hideous.
Are they?
Brown, brown and
Vinyl.
Orange and vinyl and So this is actually a tab, which is a really well-made, made by Amish and beautiful maple wood. And I recovered the cushions and I made it very cozy. And so then after I did that, then I was also simultaneously looking for things that I could do out in someplace. So I really enjoyed Arizona. I thought Arizona, had so much to offer. It was so diverse. And up in the northern part, there's those big sugar pines that are mammoth, and that reminds me of Oregon. And then the southwest corner is hoodoos and just, the Native Americans that lived back there, and just so rich, so spiritual, so profound, that I thought, well, I'd like to go back there and explore that more. So I applied for everything I could find. There's lots and lots of volunteer jobs. There's, temporary part-time things with the Corps of Engineers, the Bureau of Land Management. And since I was somewhat familiar with the Forest Service, I applied for some Forest Service jobs, and this woman out in Globe, Arizona, Encanto National Forest sent me an email and said, Sue, I think you'd be perfect for picket post. And I was like, I'm perfect for picket post? I don't know what picket post is, but I am perfect.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but I'll look it up. So I responded, and so we set it up that I could start in, I think it was probably May. And I thought, well, I'm going to drive out there and I'm going to do this job. I, got this talk about courage, like I'm just going to do this, I can do it. And I really didn't know what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I, planned to do it. And that year, my brother, who lives in Oregon, had decided to come back for my nephew's birthday in Vermont. And he said, hey, Sue, why don't I drive with you out to Arizona in your trailer, and then I can just fly home from Arizona back to Oregon. And at first I was like, this is going to be my trip and my thing, and I'm going to do it by myself.
My adventure.
And then I thought, how many times do you get to spend time with an adult sibling? We don't, because, you have kids and jobs and whatnot. And I hadn't spent any real time with him in years. And I love my brother. And so I said, okay. And my brother has a great personality, and he's very curious and fun. And so at first I was like, but Art will take the whole trip over and I'll just be following behind him.
Oh, you'll be the passenger.
Yes.
And this won't be the
my trip.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So we laughed about that the whole way, just going, and talking to people. Art would get the conversation going with everyone, and everyone would ask him questions, and I'd just be hanging in the background just like we did.
I thought of it first.
Yeah.
It was my idea.
Right. So he drove out there, which it was such a blessing because I had no idea what I was doing, just little things that, pulling into the gas station. I don't think you're going to have enough room in that overhead there, or, I don't know, hooking up and detaching the trailer and backing up. And, he just gave me so many tips, and getting the propane to work, all those little things we had so much fun on that trip. And then I got to pick a post and saw what it was. And it was really warm that spring. And got to the ranger station, and they told us to go park up on this mountain because it was too hot where picket post was for me to get down there right away. So we went up on this hill and parked there for a few days, and oh my gosh, we just had the views. It was that breath of going, this is incredibly beautiful. There's people on horseback just riding by my trailer, and hikers, and everything and people were so friendly and nice. And then Art left, and I remember putting him on the plane and then going back to my trailer like, I don't know anyone here. I don't know. For thousands of miles, I was like alone.
Mm-hmm.
But then, I just started to embrace it. And I used that sense of curiosity, being curious about, I had never spent time in the desert. It was high mountain desert. The plants were fascinating. I was like, what are these plants? How do they grow in no soil? With the different cactuses and just the land formation.
The birds.
Yeah, the birds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the smells. Everything was so new. So, yeah.
And the whole culture.
Yes.
It's like a different world.
It is. It is really different.
It sounds like you didn't have this expectation that you were going to feel courageous every moment.
No.
And you're going to be like, I am woman and I'm going to do this.
Right.
That there was like parts that were like, what was I thinking?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that courage comes not from that I'm courageous. It comes from the doing. Mm-hmm. You don't have courage until you actually done it. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's something about taking action.
Yeah. And I still don't think I'm courageous. I really don't.
It must be confusing for you when people say that. I suspect you hear that quite a bit.
I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, then you hear other people doing way more courageous, it is a spectrum,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you spent the year out there.
Yeah, I actually spent 2 9-month gigs out there. Mm-hmm. And Yeah, I had probably one of the best times of my life. I was literally, so the reason they wanted somebody at picket post was it was quite a long drive from the ranger station, and the ranger station didn't have, the staff to go down and monitor this area for, every day or every few days. So they wanted a presence there because people were going back there and, using camping and building fire rings and, not using it properly. So
little supervisory.
Yes. Yeah. So I had my trailer there, and there was a gate. So I was a site host. There was no camping allowed in this one particular area. So my job was to open the gate at dawn and close the gate at dusk. So I'd walk out there. I got up. I'm a morning person, so I would get up at 5 and see all the stars and be like, "Oh, this is so beautiful." And I'd open that gate and I'd go, then I'd think to myself, okay, everybody can come and enjoy the picket post. And it was a beautiful hiking area. It was right on the Arizona Trail. So Arizona Trail goes from Utah to Mexico. It's 800 miles. So there's through hikers that are coming through, and they need water, or, they come in. There's a little town not too far away. And they could come in and replenish their food stock or something. But there was horseback riders that would come in, or people would just come in and hang out for the day. But yeah, every single day I met amazing people. Yeah, it was really interesting. And I was thinking about the different experiences of being afraid. So many times I thought, well, this one particular time I remember this car came in at dusk, and it was a really low rider. It had music blaring, huge speakers, all blacked out windows. And it's right at dusk when I'm about ready to close that gate.
And now did you have the Forestry Service outfit on?
Yeah, I didn't always wear it.
Oh, oh boy.
But I did have, they did eventually give me a Forest Service truck that had, the sticker on it or whatever. So I was like, I'm going to have to go talk to these, and a bunch of kids barreled out of the car. And I was thinking, I got to go talk to them because it's 9 o'clock and they're, if they're going to go for a hike, they may not be back until, well after dark or whatever. So I went over to talk to them and say, well, I got to close the gate in a little while. And they're like, are you from New York? So my license plate, a lot of people would say that. And then you're, of course, feeling like, oh, I'm from New York and I don't really. And so I ended up having this conversation with them. And they were like, oh, yeah, we grew up around here and this was our backyard. And we, always played back here. And they said, do you know about the silver mine back there? And I go, well, I've read about it a little bit in the history, And this guy goes, well, I'm going to bring you some books tomorrow. So he came back with a huge pile of books for me to read about the silver mine. I mean, they loved that land and they wanted to share it. They wanted me to know how beautiful that land was.
You New Yorker.
Yeah.
Yeah, you plain clothes.
Right. Don't know anything.
Wow.
Yeah, that was so, and that happened over and over again where I would make these judgments, that this person's got to be wary. But so often it was, the most wonderful experience.
Well, I think that's what you bring to it. I mean, that's a beautiful story. And so now, where are you in terms of the wanderlust, the what's next for Sue?
Yeah.
You have this beautiful little house. It's so cozy. You have a pond. You have so many friends. And now what?
Well, I'm always a work in progress, right? I want to travel again. I I want to do, and that's the other thing. I don't want to just travel to travel. I don't have any interest in checking off all the national parks in the country and saying check, 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 check. I prefer, that's what was so great about that experience, is that I had a job or a purpose or something. So I see myself traveling in that respect, going and either working, helping somebody do something. One of the things I did when I was traveling was Workaway, which is an app that you can get, and people need something done on their property.
Okay.
I went to an alpaca farm. One thing that I did, went to an alpaca farm, and there was a woman who does rescue alpacas. She gets rescues from all over the country, and she needed help, I don't know, painting a shed and fixing some fencing. And so all these different workaways just came there. They're people from all over the world, and they give you a meal, and I had my trailer, so I was able to park my trailer there, and I spent 2 weeks there, and it was so fun. I knew nothing about Texas hill country, which is beautiful. So
they're famous for wildflowers. Am I right about that?
Yeah, they are.
The blue flowers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Blue bonnets or something.
Oh, yeah. There's a song.
Yeah.
And very recently, you have planned a little super camping.
So I bought a van. This is my big purchase in the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to make it into my little glamper camper van, and it'll give me the ability to go and, not stay at a hotel. I've done that, and that doesn't work for me. And either, go and help work on something or do something. I'm not really sure what that is, Nicole. It's a work in progress.
Some mystery.
Yes. But I'm excited.
Some adventure.
Yeah.
The adventurer. Oh my gosh. Well, I so appreciate our conversation and getting to know you over these last couple years and see you in action. There's something about like your spirit that just seems like, wow, I want to be just like that. I mean, it feels like there's a playfulness and an excitement about it, and that's the zestful aging way that you're really doing the zestful thing, and you're just sort of seeing what happens, right? They're really open to what's I don't know. Let's see. This is the next step. I'll do this, and then we'll see, and then we'll do this.
Right.
And
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think my grandchildren help me with all of that too.
Yeah.
Like I watch them learning how to walk, or watch them, just constantly being curious. And I think that's the answer, that wonderment and being curious, constantly curious. Don't lose that.
We will follow you on your journeys, and best of luck on your next journey.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on Zestful Aging. If you like the podcast, please share it with some of your friends.
Our theme song is All I Did Was Wait for You by Kjartan Abel. Visit Kjartan-Abel, that's KJARTAN-Abel, ABEL.com to hear more of Kjartan's work. And our technical director is Stephen Litweiler.
And stay tuned next week for another interview with a fascinating and inspiring guest. See you then.